What's going on, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Expected Bets for podcast. On today's episode, we'll be breaking down the slate for November 9th. Before we get into that, let's bring in the rest of the crew. Betzky, how we doing?
We're doing good over here. It's finally feeling like fall, That means it's like
95. No.
Yeah. So can't complain.
Yeah, it's I think it's 34 in Boston today. So slight difference there. Frank, I'm sure the weather in Philly is a little bit similar to Boston. How are you?
Yeah, I'm a little warmer than that. It's like 50s, so I'm
okay.
good. This is like the perfect time of year right here. So
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. All sports, all major sports going on at the same time right now, pretty much. You got the NFL, got NBA back. Do you guys bet NBA, by the way?
I did a few times in my past, and then started having situations where like I would need like 15 or 16 points. A guy would have 14 in the first half, and then not make another basket for the entire game. So I kind of just said, "All right, I'm done with this sport. It's ridiculous." So.
Kind of like shots on goal, pretty much.
Yeah, but it's way worse, man. I mean, for you to have that much in one half and not be able to make another basket, it's just like I don't get it. Yeah. I've had it happen multiple times too. It's insane. So
even last night in the Tampa Bay Montreal game, where they Tampa Bay puts up 4 in the first period and then nothing in the second, you think the overs.
I thought that
suddenly becomes a little bit sweaty. Yeah, I know. So did I. Yeah. All right. Speaking of Montreal here, let's get into our first game. We got Montreal traveling to Detroit. Detroit minus 185 on the money line. Over under set at 6.5. Minus 120 to the over here. Detroit's been pretty solid at home this year, 4-2-1. Montreal struggled on the road this season so far, 1-2-2. Montreal has lost their last 4. Detroit's also kind of on a bit of a skid here, losing 5 of their last 7 here. Goalie matchup and kind of the total would indicate that you're leaning over here. But interesting stat, 5 of the last 6 games between these two teams have gone under. So pretty crazy historical matchups. Franco, I'll start with you in this game. Any leans on the side, total or player props?
Yeah, it's crazy about the unders trending for the series, because when you first look at it, you're thinking overs for sure. Both of these teams have been more playing towards the over in general. I know Detroit's cooled off. They really started out hot. That offense looked great, and then I feel like recently they've kind of tailed off a little bit. But one of the main things I'm going to look at here is the power play points for Detroit. Again, I know they've cooled off, so it's not as good as it was, but they're still ranked towards the top of the league in both opportunities for, which they're ranked 4th, and 5th in power play goals, hitting a 28% clip. So Montreal, for their part on the defensive end, is obviously slacking, and they're getting the second most penalties, power plays a game, and hovering around the bottom 23 overall at 75% penalty kill rate. So definitely going to look at the Detroit power play point props. I know that DeBrincat was red hot with them for a while. He's kind of cooled off, I would say, but just depends on the value. I'm going to look at the value of the lines tomorrow and see who looks the best there and probably go there.
And what better time to bounce back than at home against Montreal? So, I mean, I've kind of been noticing that when somebody misses a prop that they were hitting at like a 65 to like 70-ish point clip, especially now that we're getting like 10-day chunks of data, and they miss twice in a row and have a good target, that is one of the best times to jump right back onto it. So I bet you DeBrincat's value is going to be better than it was a couple games ago. And like you mentioned, this is a great target for him to get another power play point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the historical data says one thing, but it's kind of something you just throw in there. I mean, both these goalies, the expected starters, Allen pulled in his last game after allowing 4 goals on 9 shots. He's allowed 4, 3, and 3 in his last 3 games. Husso on the other end, 5, 4, 3, 3, and 5 in goals against in his last 5 starts here. So, and both these teams play to the over. Montreal 7-5 to the over. Detroit 9-4 to the over here. So I don't mind the over in this matchup here. all the stats indicate that Detroit scores more at home. They allow more at home as well. Montreal scores more on the road, oddly enough. So at 6.5 here, I don't mind it at -120. I could see it moving to maybe -130, -125 at puck drop, but I don't mind the over despite the historical data in this one.
Yeah, and that's a good point because these were different teams.
Way different
the past
teams.
2 seasons. Yeah. I mean, Montreal was just a bottom dweller for 2 straight years after they made a cup appearance.
Yep.
And then Detroit's
revamped lineup.
Yep. This is, that offense we saw at the start of the year, while I don't necessarily believe that they are going to have a top 5 offense for the entire season, I think we'll see sparks of it because they have a very good top line. They have depth down all 4 lines, really. So it's really if all the lines are clicking and that power play is going, aka at home games, I feel a lot more comfortable with Detroit. I think they're going to be kind of like a team to just kind of pick out your targets. So Arizona is a good example of that too, where they're just not going to match up against the heavier set teams.
No.
Detroit's probably going to be a little bit better in that capacity, but none of those top guys are like truly what I would say like elite level forwards or typical top 6 forwards outside of DeBrincat and maybe Larkin as far as offense. Larkin's obviously a great 2-way center. Not going to try to doubt that. And he's had some really amazing seasons. Consistency wise, he kind of goes up and down though. But yeah, outside of kind of what you highlighted, the only 2 props that really would stand out for me, definitely DeBrincat's shots. At home, I think he's had 4+ shots every game. So even if they're trying to force feed you the 2.5 line, if you can get alt lines, it might be more worthwhile just to bounce it up one, especially since Detroit's been a little bit cold. Montreal give up a ton of shots to centers. So Larkin has been really cold. It just mentioned bounce back times. This is probably a great spot for Detroit to try to get right back to where they were before. Great target again for them to just kind of take the pound town and give a spanking to. So I really got those 2 big names circled. Nothing flashy here. I'm definitely avoiding Caulfield after the taco sank last night.
Yeah. Even the last game Detroit played last night versus New York, despite the score of them putting up, I think they put up 3. They were never in that game. Clearly in the third period, Quick kind of let up a span. I think it was 2 quick ones, no pun intended there. But he looked decent throughout the game. But yeah, Detroit just limited scoring opportunities the whole game. Detroit completely outplayed versus the Rangers, who we'll get to later, look pretty damn good.
And if you're playing against Quick, you should be able to put up 3 points. So
yeah.
I don't get how teams aren't doing that automatically every game. It should be overs every time he's on that.
I did not have that game circled yesterday, and I'm just kicking myself because that was such an easy over. I had it circled and just didn't play it because it was first home game in a little bit. I guess I think this is their second one, but regardless.
Yeah. All right, it is. Moving along here, we got Vancouver at Ottawa. Vancouver -112, Ottawa -108 on the money line. Over under set at 6.5 here. -130 to the over, pretty much what you expect. Ottawa ranks 5th in goals for, averaging 3.8 at home. That number jumps to 4. Even they've been worse defensively at home too, oddly enough. They give up more goals against at home. I think Franco's going to highlight this one. It's another power play situation here that he's going to try to target. But Vancouver won their last 4, 7 in their last 8. They're red hot. Didn't see that coming, so we'll have to delete the footage of our preview on them for sure.
I was so wrong on that, man.
Yeah. Ottawa comes in here limping, though, too. Lost 5 of their last 6. Both these teams, in terms of on the season, have leaned more towards the over here. Demko has been solid as of late, but Korpisalo has not, oddly enough, pulled in his last game as well. So, Franco, I'll let you do the honors here. What power play angle are you targeting this one?
Well, before I get to that, why is Vancouver even bettable right now? Unless Ottawa shows some crazy sort of life tonight in this game, I don't get it. They look like they're just not right at all. I don't know when DJ Smith's going to get fired. The players are still talking him up. Kachuk, Giroux, the vets just saying, yeah, we want to play for him and all that fun stuff. But like when push comes to shove, this team just has not produced up to the standard that we're expecting from them with what they have. And I don't know. I don't get how Vancouver's not minus 130, minus 140 tomorrow. So that is the first thing that stuck out to me right away is just you're getting a team on a back-to-back who's not playing well and against a red hot Vancouver team. So
isn't there some weird percent of teams that are waiting for their opponent to come back to their home arena and win 55 to 60% of the time or something higher than that? Because one team's rested at that other team's rink and the other one's playing the night before and then traveling back. And then on top of it, Vancouver is traveling cross country, so maybe that's why the books are a little off on this. But who knows?
I mean, they still had an extra day's rest, though, right? Like they didn't play.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I don't get it. But regardless, the power play angle is obviously Vancouver here. Third best power play percentage in the league right now, 32%. Towards the top 10 in opportunities for. So, and Ottawa, they're hovering around the middle, 12th overall with opportunities against, but they're pretty dreadful in the PK, 75%. So you got to target them any chance they're going to get. Vancouver has just been awesome on the power play. Both lines really, power play points have been pretty reasonable. I know guys like Pettersson are like plus 100-ish, so they're kind of low, but usually you're going to be able to get like Miller or Kuzmenko at like plus 150, plus 160, and that's pretty damn good. And on top of that, I mean, Quinn Hughes has been awesome. Obviously, like I think he's cemented himself in the early running for Norris at this point.
He took the lead.
Awesome, man. I mean, he's been awesome. Like, I mean, I hope he can keep this pace because I've always liked him as a defenseman. He's just never kind of been able to put the pieces together. So, but I mean, I'm looking at his stats against them historically. Obviously, like he's been on fire in general, 9 points in his last 3 games, which is just ridiculous. And historically, in the last 3 years against Ottawa, 15 points in 13 games, and we're talking 14 assists. So,
oh my God.
If his assist prop is bettable, I mean, I am kicking myself over and over for not taking it the other day. It was like minus 130, which is right around the cusp of where I really want to be taking a player prop. But with as good as he's been, if he's anything under minus 140 tomorrow for an assist, like lock it in, play it. Just don't think about it. He's just been money.
Yeah. Why not 2?
Yeah, I mean, 2 points, two assists, whatever you want to do, for sure.
Yep.
Alt him up.
Yeah. Now he is scoring a lot more this season because he's actually shooting almost as much as his brother. It's insane.
Yeah.
His assists last season, I think he would have like a goal in every 10 assists or something insane like that. But this season's a little bit dicier with that. So yeah, maybe 2 points is the place to go with that if you want something with a little bit. Like maybe doing an assist for a unit and then like sprinkle 2 points for a halfie or something.
Or you even do an assist for a full unit and you do a quarter or a half for a goal and you just say screw it, right? And you're going to come out on top, especially if he scores an assist. So that's
I mean, if you're looking for assists too, Hronek, 10 points in his last 7 games, all assists.
Yeah, he's been good.
Yeah.
So he's been pretty solid as well there. Betzky, any looks for you?
I love the power play angles on this one. I mean, again, maybe looking at Pettersson for 2 points, Hughes for 2 points. I think both of those are probably things to kind of really consider, especially if you're going to get those in plus 200 range, plus 180 range. Because, a half unit can pretty much make you a full unit or 1.5 units. So, I would like to see what Ottawa does tonight too, though, before I'm hammering a Vancouver money line. This could be something where if I had to put my money on it, I almost like them more tonight than tomorrow. playing in Toronto, have a big game in Toronto, party all night, come home, get spanked by Vancouver. Seems like
that's
the game
the
script in my head.
Yeah.
I
mean, Ottawa ranks 8th though in shots for, Vancouver 17th, and Vancouver allows more on the road here. Your Ottawa targets, Vancouver gives the 9th most to centers, 6th most to left wingers. But again, that back-to-back is always kind of a tough angle when you're talking about shots.
Check out props.cash. They got that amount of days rest as one of the options to filter out the data, though. So you may be able to try to find or pinpoint somebody who's good on back-to-backs. One guy who's always been really good at home for Ottawa, though, is Batherson. We haven't really talked about him. Ottawa shuffled the lines up a little bit. So I believe it's to Chuck Norris, Batherson, and then last I checked, Drew and Stutzla are on the second line together. So you may be able to get a lot of value on Batherson point right now because he started off really slow this season and his shots have started off really slow. But last season, it was something like hitting 70% of the time at home and then, like a 38% on the road. So that may be something to consider, even though Vancouver's a little bit tough on shots.
Yeah, I wanted to ask this to you. I mean, I've always struggled with kind of tracking the line changes. It feels like obviously Daily Faceoff kind of tweets them out here, but I did just find this new website that lists the lines for like the past 5 games for each team. So you can really track it, which I've always struggled with that. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like trying to track 32 teams of who's moving up and down, especially on power plays, feels like it always changes.
Is that left wing lock?
No, I will. I'll shoot the link in the chat right now to you guys, and I'll post it in the YouTube comment as well, or information for everyone as well. But it's a pretty cool website. It has a bunch of different things. It tracks all kind of active point streaks for the day. It tracks hot goalies, hot players. So it's it's a pretty cool website.
That's the one I use for a lot of my historical stuff too, as well. They're awesome, man. This is awesome.
Really cool website. All right, here. Any other things in Vancouver, Ottawa?
This kind of a wait and see. I mean, I think we highlighted some good angles. You probably don't. This could be a really good target for shots and points. Back-to-backs kind of get scary too, and I don't know. I kind of want to see if Ottawa empties the tank tonight. If they have a bad loss tonight, I think Vancouver could really give them the runaround tomorrow, and then we see a coaching change after back-to-back big losses against Canadian teams. If they win tonight, maybe hit Vancouver hard because they may be celebrating and coming back a tired team.
Yeah.
I don't think that Vancouver line's staying by tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be as nice of a line as it is right now.
Next game on the slate here, we have Minnesota traveling to New York to take on the Rangers. The Rangers home favorites in this one, -155 on the money line. Over under set at 6.5, which is a little interesting. Juice to the under here. Minnesota ranks 8th in goals for per game. New York 14th in goals for per game, but New York's been pretty solid defensively. Minnesota struggled a little bit here. Obviously, I think we're going to have another power play angle, Franco, but Shesterkin questionable for tonight. So Quick might get his 3rd consecutive start, which is interesting. Wow. He's allowed 3 and 4 in his last 2 starts. Fox obviously out indefinitely here. New York's just been red hot, though. 8 of their last 10 they've won, picked up points in each of their last 9 here. Minnesota on a 2-game skid, but they do add Zach Bogosian to their defensive unit, which is a recent trade that just happened. Minnesota defeated New York earlier this season, too, which is pretty interesting. In a shootout, the last 2 games versus these 2 teams ended in a shootout. So another draw angle we could see out of Franco here, +310, +340, another one of those. But I'll start with you here, Betzky. Any sort of angles that you're looking at in this matchup?
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier. If Quick's in it, hammer the over, especially with the way the Wild have been playing lately. Let's just say they've been playing a little wild. That one was teed up for me. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll let Franco talk about the power play points because this one looks really good. Yeah. So for some more hidden gems that I snuffed out, Marco Rossi's been fantastic lately. And if we get Quick in that, this would be a great spot to try to find him. Hopefully your books have him. I'm sure he's probably in that -115 to +115, +120 range, just because he's a lesser known player, even though he has, I think, over 7 points now as a rookie. I think he had 7 going into last
7
game,
and
and
12 games.
Yep. So not bad. Boldy is back, so I think we're going to see more scoring up and down the lineup for Minnesota, rather than kind of just focused on that top line with Kaprizov, Hartman, Zooks. Eriksson Ek's been awesome with shots lately, even though Rangers aren't the best target. So this may be one just to kind of try to find some extra value with your points on the Minnesota side. And then because Minnesota gives up tons of power play opportunities, but also have one of the worst penalty kill, I think this is a really nice spot for power play props that I'll let Franco highlight. Another guy you just really can't get off of the wagon right now is Panarin. I mean, he's hitting his shots every single game. I don't know
20
what else
points
to say.
in 12 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an insane
he's like
pace.
second in the league for points. Yeah, it's just crazy.
And he has 7 goals, man. I mean, like, when has that ever happened with Panarin?
Never. So that's a nice thing. I'm just taking a look at shots by position. Minnesota ranked 5th against or 5th worst against right wing. So great target for Panarin. I mean, use it as a parlay piece, use it however you'd like, but there's no reason to not use some sort of Panarin prop right now, because it's just helping get extra value out of anything.
Yeah. Even Kreider too. Kreider's been a little bit of a hot streak as of late as well. So, but more value on his, I'm assuming, than Panarin, obviously. But Franco, the floor is yours for the power play angle.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious.
It's too good.
New York's just been awesome on the power play. They're hitting around like 32%. And Minnesota is dead last. So give me all the props. The interesting one, and I'm really annoyed I didn't come back to it, because I bet on the first game. Fox was out, was Gustafsson, and he didn't get one. And then I forgot to bet him last night. He got a power play point and an assist. They refused to give us his point prop straight, which, like, I'm just waiting. I would think it would be bettable, though, like, just because he's not Fox. Fox is always -170 for a point, something like that. I would assume Gustafsson would be like a -110, -120 type, and they're just not giving us that line. So, I mean, pick your player. I'm sure Panarin's going to be probably minus money, to be honest, for a power play point. So you're probably going to have to pivot off him. We'll see what the numbers are, of course, tomorrow. But I do really like Gustafsson, because they're a team that does heavily utilize the point players to set up and get that open look for one of the guys on the wing to get the shot. So usually they're getting a touch in there. The other angle,
even Kreider are decent though in front, because he's usually in front. You know,
he's deflecting. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I would, again, it depends on what the numbers are, what the lines are, but I would tend to probably, if Panarin's in the minus money range, I'll probably pivot off and look towards somebody else for a little bit more value. But again, it just depends on what we're seeing. One guy though is on the other side of on Minnesota is Zuccarello, who loves playing the Rangers.
Oh yeah,
he had a goal the last game. I'm pretty sure he hit his shots. So,
he did. I was on his shots the last game at home. And
I completely forgot about it. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about it, but I mean, he's kind of like the engine for that line now, because he got bumped down from the first line. He's playing with Hartman and Johansson right now, so it's not your typical. He's on the line with Kaprizov. Kaprizov's the engine on that line, so now he gets his own kind of showcase now. So I'll be looking at his shots. I'll be looking at his point prop, maybe his goal prop, just because. And another thing I noticed too was midway through that game the other day for Minnesota, they actually bumped Boldy off the top power play and put Zuccarello back on it. So it started off with Zook on the second unit. So maybe keep an eye out. Not that New York's the best penalty kill to target, but it'll be interesting to see if they keep Boldy off that first unit and keep Zuccarello back on it, but they had originally had it as Boldy being the fifth player on that unit. So just something to consider there.
Yeah, I like that look as well. Next game on the slate here, Dallas traveling to Columbus. Dallas road favorite here, minus 198. Over under set at 6. Juice to the over here. Dallas 7-3-1 on the year. Columbus 4-5-3. Dallas has been really solid on the road this year, 4-1-1, sitting in second in the Central. They've scored more goals on the road, allowed less goals on the road here. I think the target, obviously, in this one is oddly enough going to be Columbus shots on goal. Dallas ranks 27th in shots in goal against. They allow more on the road here. So your targets for Columbus are going to be your centers. Dallas allows the 5th most shots, and defensemen. Again, Dallas allows the 5th most shots to them as well. Dallas coming in on a 2-game skid here. Columbus, though, losing 6 their last 7. Duchesne questionable. Dallas already beat this Columbus squad 5-3 earlier this year. Going to look at maybe, I think, obviously the shot on goal targets, but Dallas in regulation here as well. I think it's a prime bounce back spot for them against this Columbus team. They've proven they can beat them, and it really wasn't even close in that first game. So that's what I'm looking at here. Betzky, any angles in this one?
Yeah, I mean, immediately the 2 spots, the centers and defensemen, are what I have circled, and Columbus has some great options there. Werenski's been fantastic to start the season. He's been in a little bit of a slump. Again, I love my bounce back areas, so this would be a nice spot for him to start shooting a little bit more on a good target. Fantilli's been great too as far as the shots on goal. I feel like I'm always a little bit ahead of the curve on this player in particular, because every time I hit, he hits the next day. But again, this is a hard target not to like. Fantilli just keeps on gaining more and more trust from his coach and his team. So I really kind of like him being able to kind of battle against some of the bigger guys in Dallas and get some pucks on net for Columbus. So those are probably my 2 that I like the most as far as just kind of the value you'll probably be able to get from them. Jenner's been really good as well. I don't know if his line will be 2.5 or 3.5, but again, 2.5 is a nice parlay piece. If you get him at 3.5, definitely going to get plus money, probably in that plus, 130 plus area. And he's hit quite a bit this season already at that. So I don't know. Those are kind of the targets I'm looking for on the Dallas end. Hintz is really good on the road. He's been a little quiet past couple games. Again, another bounce back target right there. And as you mentioned, I think Dallas and Reg sounds pretty sweet and tasty.
Yeah. Frago, how about you?
Not too much for me in this game, to be honest. But yeah, I would lean Dallas and Reg as well. It's a perfect spot for them to come back after 2 tough games against Boston and Vancouver. And oddly enough, I mean, Dallas has really been kind of playing more towards the over this year. I know going into the season, we thought they would be an under team just by the way they play. They're usually that defensive team and solid goaltending. But like you guys had said already, they're giving up a ton of shots, and it's kind of not what we would ever expect from them. So,
no.
I mean, I might consider the over, maybe like a first period over, something like that. See what the lines look like. But these games, I know typically Columbus pushes you to 6.5, but Dallas is usually sitting at a 5.5 or 6 line. So we'll see. I know it's sitting at 6.5 plus money right now. We'll see where it kind of settles at tomorrow, and maybe look for like a live over or something like that if you can get like a 5.5 in game.
Yeah, that would be the way to go on the live side of this one, because Columbus has been actually pretty decent as far as playing in the under games and kind of limiting goals and wins and to those like 3-2 scores. So it seems like the times it does go over when it gets a little out of hand for what the amount they let in.
Yeah, it's an interesting transition too. I mean, you mentioned Dallas allowing a ton of shots on goal this year. It's almost the same thing with Seattle too. Seattle was pretty good defensively last year at limiting shots, and this year I think they're in the bottom quarter in terms of allowing shots on goal, with both teams last year playing pretty heavily to the under. So kind of an interesting transition there. But next game up is Arizona at St. Louis. St. Louis, the favorite in this one, minus 122. Over under set at 6.5 here. even money on the over -120 to the under here. The odds 6-5-1, fourth in the Central here. Betzky, I mean, this team's power play has looked pretty good here, so I know where we're going with this one. Arizona's already beat St. Louis this season too, 6-2. I'll let the floor is yours here. Who you like in this one?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, I remember the days when St. Louis just owned us, like Aaron Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears, and Zona could never beat them. And now, oh boy, have the tables turned, especially with the introduction of Clayton Keller to the team and him kind of emerging as a top winger in the league. He's from the St. Louis area. He loves playing against them, and he especially loves playing in St. Louis. It is in St. Louis, correct?
Yes, it is in St. Louis.
Awesome, yeah. So he is definitely somebody to circle, whether that be his shots and kind of more of a parlay fashion. Points are going to have to be more of a parlay. Maybe Franco has the power play point look for him. Or, maybe alt it up a little bit, go for 4 shots or 2 points, because this is a team he loves to play against. He's another one to look for a goal. Or, look towards his line mates too. Hayton finally got on the scoreboard by getting his first point and goal of the season last night. Maybe he's going to stay hot. He's been fantastic for that line with Schmaltz. He's doing almost all the hard work. He just seems to touch the puck as like the third guy, and then doesn't get that secondary assist when he should. Michelli's been on, I think, an 8-game point streak at this point, maybe more, and he still sits around -115 or so. It's absurd. So that would be obviously something I look at. And then Cooley's been playing on the top power play unit, so if you can get his power play point, that may be something to kind of look at. He's been playing on, I think, the third line with Carcone, and gosh, Zucker was supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
Sorry, who? Yes, Boyd. Yeah. So two anchors really.
I mean, Keller, Cooley, and Schmaltz all have 6 power play points, so I think that's going to be So
Franco, if you're going to take Don't get tempted by the +100, +105 for a Cooley point. Just go right for the power play point and
go right for the power play point. Yeah. Franco, any thoughts here? Or sorry, Betzky, I keep cutting you off there.
I don't have much more to say, because I was about to say I don't have many good looks for St. Louis, because they have been a team that have just kind of puzzled me this year. And Kairu's starting to heat up, so maybe his shot's on goal. But outside of that, this was a team I liked to bet on last year too. There was a lot of value for just kind of point props or overlook shots, but it's been a struggle with them this year.
Yeah, they haven't really been scoring this year, man. Like I don't get it. The team is still pretty much intact from last year, and like overall, they're just not what we have come to expect from the Blues team. It's not that different. So one player that has been hot for them though is Robert Thomas. 3 goals in 3 games. I think since they moved Kapanen up to that first line, it's kind of provided a little bit of a spark. So I think recently they've been playing more towards the over, I believe. Let me check here just to verify. But yeah, they've been producing a little bit more, so the last few games at least, than they were to start the season. So I mean, my initial lean in that first game was the over. I think you got to go back to the over here again between these two teams. I think it's worth betting. I don't love betting Arizona on the road. I feel like they're a lot better at home, at least like in my mind, but they have been pretty good on the road overall, I think, this year. So
2-3-1.
I like the angle. Yeah, I mean, they were like a completely stay off team almost, it seemed like, last year on the road. So I like the angles Betzky already kind of highlighted. Obviously, the power play points, look for your value there. If you have 3-6-5, you can try to run that Keller Schmaltz point parlay again. I've tried it twice and gone 0-2 somehow. I don't know how it's possible, because they just always seem to score for this team, but somehow I picked the 2 games that they were non-existent. But like you said, Keller point props, maybe you go over 1.5 points, something like that is probably a good value. Maybe his goals. But yeah, if I'm looking at anything, I'm probably looking at the over mainly. And like I said, I don't mind that top line for St. Louis. just because of how hot they've been. So maybe there's some value there, just depending on the numbers we get.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the over because I was questioning that as well. Plus 100 to the over here. I mean, Vejmelka, 5, 4, and 5 goals against in his last 3. Binnington, 4, 1, 4, and 5. Obviously, Binnington started pretty hot this year, but St. Louis's offense has picked up. They had 2 in their last game and then 6 and 4 before that. So I feel like that over is going to maybe end up around 105, 110, but I was curious what your thoughts were on it, but I'm glad you brought that up because I looked at it originally and I was like, how is this plus money right now for this prop?
Well, I think that's how I felt the first game too, because I believe it was at 6, the game a couple weeks ago, and I kept looking at it and saying that's the obvious bet, but I just kept talking myself off it and going other angles, and then obviously it sailed over and it was just an easy one. It's just one of those things where now do you hesitate because they recently played and it's the opposite trend, or am I going to talk myself off it again? But I feel like if it's one of those things, man, like, you second guess yourself and then you talk yourself out of it and you see all these goals happen and somehow you're not on the right prop and it's just frustrating. So I like the over though, man, for sure.
Perfect. Betzky, your thoughts on that over?
I would lean that way right now. Our goaltending has just struggled a little bit, and the blue line is definitely showing cracks right now. So it's really been the Moser and Jersey show, and all other 4 defensemen right now haven't been the best, Dumba included. So
yeah, awesome. Next game up, we have Seattle traveling to Colorado here. Colorado minus 218 on the money line, over under 6.5. Plus money on the over again here, minus 120 to the under. Colorado 8-3-0 to start the season. Seattle comes into this one on a 2-game skid. They've lost 3 of their last 5 as well. Another historical stat here, 9 of the last 10 games between these teams have gone under. So another kind of stat there. Colorado beat Seattle 4-1 earlier this season here, but I'll start with you here, Franco. Any looks in this game?
Yeah, I remember that under being the big thing in that playoff series for them last year. Like going into it, I looked at all the, your typical thought process going into that series was goals, and all their previous history was all unders, which is crazy to think of. So Colorado got their revenge earlier this year, 4-1. They smoked them. I mean, I don't think Seattle scored first, but then had really nothing going for the rest of the game. So that was kind of like their statement game, Colorado. So now I wonder what kind of attitude each team has going into this game. Seattle was pretty bad for a nice little stretch there, and they kind of turned it around until these last 2 games. I know they lost in a shootout to Arizona. I believe they were winning that game as well. So they haven't been that team that I feel like last year they were a team that was able to get leads and hold on to them and kind of prevent shots. And kind of like you were saying earlier, they're just not doing that this year. So it's obvious, right? Like, give up more shots, you're going to give up more goals. It doesn't matter who your goalie is. Eventually there's going to be cracks. And obviously Seattle's goaltending is not the best. So it's not like they have Ottinger back there or anything like that for what Dallas has. So, I mean, I don't want to bet the over, but it feels like an over in this game. I would think Seattle has a little bit more offensive firepower coming into this game than they did the last time these 2 teams met. Obviously, Colorado's been on a tear offensively the last few games, trending towards the over as well. So I know the history stays under, but I don't know. I just don't know how these teams feel coming into this game. So I'm kind of just wishy-washy, I guess, on that. 2 players have been hot for Seattle have been Bjorkstrand and Tolvanen, though. So look towards their props, goal score props, point props. They tend to always be bettable, these guys, like minus 115, plus 100 type guys. So I know McCann's been the guy historically, but his props usually not bettable straight for a point. So that's where I'd look. And obviously with them giving up more shots now, you got to look at Colorado shots. So I hate betting McKinnon. Every time I bet him, he has like 2 shots on net, 5 missed. So I'll let one of you guys take that one. But Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a guy like Nichushkin, who hasn't really been that good to start the year, he seems like he's kind of due for a good game. I know that line has been kind of not productive overall. So interested to hear what you guys feel about that.
Yeah, Betzky, any thoughts here?
I don't know. Something seems wrong with McKinnon. Maybe he's got a little bit of a nagging injury. I don't know. But everybody was talking how great he looked in warm-ups, but just doesn't seem like we're seeing the same type of player. And maybe it's because the team's just trying to be more defensively responsible, not letting him just kind of toss pucks everywhere. And Colorado's been kind of a thorn in my side as far as betting. I'm probably going to lay off this game for the most part until I just start to see the trends a little bit better, because right now they're not speaking to me on the Colorado side. McCann looks great for shots too. I think he had a really good kind of history versus Colorado, especially in the playoffs until he got injured. And Rantanen's been seemingly the most consistent Avalanche right now, but I don't have a good feel for this game. The last time they played, I just was hammering McKinnon props, and even though they won 4-1, and that he didn't really do what he didn't do McKinnon stuff, one I have circled that right when I saw the matchup was Colorado team total, though. They are still managing to put teams away, kind of coming up and down the lineup. The big boys still manage to get a point or two, and then they're finding some depth from surprising names, not Johansson or Drouin or anybody you would have expected, but from more of their kind of later pickups in the roster.
Yeah, one other guy too, Franco, in terms of Seattle, as Schwartz. He's got 9 points in 7 games here, so that's another angle. Colorado, 4th most shots for per game here. Seattle, 22nd most shots allowed per game. That number jumps up on the road as well. Your Colorado targets are going to be centers. Seattle gives up the 3rd most shots on goals to them, and defensemen as well, with sitting at 3rd there too. Interestingly enough, I don't hate the over here. So Seattle averages 2.62 goals for per game, but they've managed to put up at least three in their last 4 games here. Colorado too, obviously been a little bit of a skid defensively, allowing 3 to New Jersey, 7 to Vegas, and then 4 again to Buffalo during that span. So despite the historical data, I could see this one going over as well in this matchup. And Colorado averages 5 goals for at home too, from their overall average of 3.3. So
another big thing too is like we're seeing kind of the drop off for Georgiev, right? So he started out the season with that crazy, I forget what his GSA was though, but he was just on fire, right? And we're like, who the hell is this guy? And now it's almost like they're running him into the ground. I don't really understand. Like if you're Colorado, you're supposed to be a playoff team, right? Why the hell does he have 10 games played to 2 for Prosvetov? So
I think Franco's injury hurt them too.
Yeah, I mean, but still, like you throw the backup in, man. Like Prosvetov has been all right too to start the year. It's not like he's been terrible. I don't get it. Like you're gonna run Georgiev into the ground, and then you're gonna have nothing. So, I mean, we're clearly seeing a drop off in Georgiev's play, and I think it's a lot to do with him just playing so much and getting overworked. So that's another reason to point to the over. So.
Can make the same point about Georgiev as you can Grubauer. Grubauer hasn't been good this year really at all. 4-2-3 in his last 3 starts, and then before that it gets even worse here. So it's really over here.
Without looking, how many points do you think McKinnon has this season?
9.
Yeah, like 8 or 7.
Yeah, 11.
Better than I thought. Yeah. Still, that's crazy. I mean, what Kucherov beats the league with 22.
Yeah.
So, yeah, certainly didn't expect that here. All right, last game on the slate for November 9th here. We got Pittsburgh traveling to Los Angeles. The Kings are minus 125 with the money line here. Over under set at 6.5. Heavily juiced to the over at minus 130 in this one. The Kings won 5 of their last 6 games for an overall record of 7-2-2. However, they struggled a bit at home with a 1-2-2 record. Pittsburgh 5-6-0 overall. Have won their last two, but this will be their third game on their West Coast road trip here. So I don't really have much in this game. I think it's going to be a pretty decent one in terms of the late slate here. But I'll start with you here, Betzky. Any looks in this matchup?
I brought it up earlier in the show, and I'm circling it. Pittsburgh money line, because they are getting LA Kings coming off a game in Vegas against Vegas. They are playing tonight. That is the showdown for the Pacific right now, even though Vancouver obviously is in second place. There's just a lot more history between these two teams, geolocation wise. They're right next door to each other. I think we're going to get a Kings team that comes back home, is tired, and Pittsburgh, I mean, granted, it was against the Sharks and put up 10 points against them. They played a solid game last night against a Ducks team who just beat Vegas. So I think Pittsburgh's figuring it out a little bit more recently. Jari's still kind of an issue. But I kind of like Pittsburgh to end this road trip on another high note and steal another win here against a good LA team. LA's been better as far as goals allowed than I expected this season, but it's still a little up and down and kind of same capacity it is with Pittsburgh.
I mean, if you like Pitt right now, I'd grab them. They're plus 115 on FanDuel. All the other books have moved them to plus 105.
Yeah, I really like that right now. I mean, the Kings are a great team, but Pittsburgh's loaded up and down that roster as well. I just don't think we've been really seeing the results that they want with a roster like that. And it's obviously a very old roster, and maybe it's just going to take a couple games and weeks to figure it out. And maybe that's what we're going to start seeing pretty soon here. As far as shot props, I'll need to dig more into this when we have a little bit more data and kind of how it goes tonight. Kings are tough against shots on goal right now. Pittsburgh's been kind of league average. I'm sure there's some value in some of the big names on both teams. Fiala at home is always a wagon, even though this year's been not nearly the same hit rate as it was in years past, but he's one that I would potentially go right back to. No true obvious spots for me, but maybe Franco's got some good ones.
Franco?
Yeah, I was gonna say Fiala shots as well, just because of the home splits for him. But I'm really interested to see how the Kings look tonight. I guess really is what it comes down to. I don't know. Is that trend still a thing? I remember a couple of years ago, it was like if teams leaving Vegas was like an auto over and an auto like fade of the team. Like they because I mean it makes sense, right? You're leaving Vegas and like come on. Like so I mean on the surface I lean the over there. I know it's already minus 130, so that's probably gonna move to 7 by tomorrow. The 6.5 moves to 7. So I like that. Kings have been getting a little bit better goaltending from Talbot, but you would assume it's going to be Copley on the back-to-back. And then obviously, I mean, is Jari good? I know he left that game and Hellberg stepped in. So is he even going to be available to play for Pittsburgh tomorrow? So we might be getting Hellberg versus Copley.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah,
that would be awesome. So if you guys like that, I'd probably lock that in tonight. One guy standing out to me for the Kings, though, is Kempe. Heating up offensively, 2 goals, 2 assists in the last 3 games, shooting a ton, averaging over 4 shots a game. And against Pittsburgh, historically, 4 games, 4 goals, 2 assists, 3.75 shots per game average. So that looks really good to me. I'll probably lean his goal prop, see what it looks like. Point prop's usually not bettable for him, but maybe that's a parlay piece. And Byfield, since he's moved up to that top line, 6 assists in 3 games. Wow. Are we finally seeing this guy turning into the guy that we thought was going to be? I mean, I don't know. Is he? We'll see, I guess, right? But that line's productive. he's probably going to be bettable, whereas Kopitar and Kempe aren't, just for a point prop. So look there for sure. And Malkin's been red hot as well.
Yeah, he has
3 goals in the last 3 games, 4 total points, averaging 4 shots on goal a game. So again, just looking for that value on these guys. You're not going to be able to bet Malkin straight for a point, but his goal prop's probably bettable for a nice number, for a little sprinkle. And again, like, all these signs point to the over, especially if we're getting 2 backups.
Yeah, can we talk about what happened to PLD? I mean, to start the year, he was red hot in terms of shots, hitting 5 of his first 6 games, and then in his last 5, he's gone under. I think we saw that turn to one of the games where he just looks like he's out there for a nice little Sunday skate, it feels like, at some points.
I hate that guy. I just, like, when we talked about them in the off season, I was like, I think that the dude's just like, he's not a good teammate. Like, he's not a good player to have in your locker room. He just takes games off. He disappears. And I thought Winnipeg got a hell of a haul for him, man. Like, to be honest. And I don't know. I just, like, he has flashes. I think he's a talented player, but, like, we're seeing it again. Where the hell is he? Yeah. It's frustrating. So yeah. I don't know. He's just frustrating to me. I don't know.
Yeah, another guy too in terms of shots on goal is Trevor Moore here. His attempts have been pretty solid in his last 5 games. He's gone over in 4 of his last 5 attempts, 6, 6, 9, 3, 7. So that's kind of the number you want to see when you're targeting someone.
He's a road dog.
He is.
Yeah, his home is, he just cuddles up in bed, and
3 of his last 5 he's gone over at home.
It's good. It's good. It's a start.
So we're taking him. We're taking him tonight then against VGK, or what?
I don't mind him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good value on the road, and he's just always firing, it seems like.
But yeah, no, I mean, he looks decent for both games. To be honest, he's maybe a new man.
Yeah, you're right. As the way he splits 5 of his last 6, just cleared pretty easily. So yeah. Any other thoughts on the slate for tomorrow? Any other games you guys can have circled that you're looking at targeting?
Edmonton spanking San Jose. I mean, I know it would be comical to watch San Jose get their second win in a row against Edmonton. I was really hoping they explode. I was hoping they were that city would explode.
Yeah.
I was hoping that San Jose would have another stinker against Philly so that everything points to them beating Edmonton. But I think after the past couple games for Edmonton, they may really lash out on the Sharks. So grab those multi-point games from some of the big names. Maybe load up on some goals from the big names, but that could be ugly. Oh, and one other quick thing. This happened this weekend. We were trying to get a nice clip of it. During our season previews, we mentioned how Columbus was going to beat Tampa Bay and then lose to Washington. And we found the date of when it happened or when it was going to come up. And we're just that's kind of what the Columbus team is. They manage to win the game you don't think they win, and then they just get killed by Washington. Seemingly has their number, but a bad team. And then sure enough, Columbus handled Tampa, flew into Washington, and lost to Washington.
So that means Columbus is going to win against the Stars then, right?
I don't
probably
know.
Back off that Stars game, man. I mean,
I don't know.
They're due at this point.
I don't know if they're in every other game yet, but when are they playing Toronto?
Well, they have an interesting schedule coming up too for Columbus. Obviously, they play Dallas, then they go to Detroit, and then they come back to New York at New York.
There's the win.
No, they're going to beat Dallas. Yeah. They're going to beat Dallas, lose to Detroit, and then beat New York. There you go. Boom.
Yep. How about
I think that New York game is prime.
Lose to Dallas in overtime. So there's your draw. Okay. Beat or lose to Detroit. Go into New York and win.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then who do they play after that? Because then they'll absolutely lose to that.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah. Done.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's your Columbus preview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else?
Nah, man, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. You guys want to shout out your socials?
Franco the Banker on Twitter.
Gretzky Betzky's on Twitter and the Parlay Science Discord.
Awesome. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Gator Betting and on the Odds Breakers. Be sure to check out the link or the Twitter for the podcast as well at Expected Bets, where we post each episode and a bunch of new content coming soon. So check that out. Appreciate you, everyone, for listening. And this has been another episode of Expected Bets 4.